Time now is 6:46, and we're talking top issues with Mayor Gina Ortiz Jones.
Yeah, she's here live with us for our weekly segment, Mondays with the Mayor. Thanks for being with us here.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
Yeah, so we've been talking with you, and you're continuing to push this in the community because it's a big deal for our community.
Absolutely.
Moving elections from May to November. Yeah. You said it really can benefit us, and there is actually a meeting, a presser being held today about it. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. So big picture, right? Moving the municipal election from May to November does two things. It, one, saves the city between $800,000 and $1 million. We have a budget gap. We need to be looking for all the pennies we can save, right? As importantly though, voters associate voting with November. And so moving it to November helps increase turnout. I fundamentally believe the more of our neighbors that we hear from, the better our government, the better our democracy works, right? The benefit of also the legislation that passed earlier this year that allows for this change requires that this only apply to cities that have their elections in odd years. And that's important because this still keeps our elections nonpartisan, which is really important, right? The partisan races are in the even years. This would still be in the odd years. So saves us a lot of money. We hear from more neighbors. It keeps us this nonpartisan. That law, though, also said municipalities, if you want to do this, you have to make the change by the end of the year. That's why we're moving so hard. I'm very thankful that groups that have been working on this issue for a long time quickly jumped on board, right? So Voto Latino has already endorsed this idea. They're a main voting rights group for Latinos all throughout the country. This League of Women Voters San Antonio has already supported. Texas Organizing Project, Southwest Voter Registration Project, they've already endorsed it as well. I'm also very thankful that people like Maria Berrios-Oval, the first Latina to serve on city council here in San Antonio, is on board and supporting this. People like Graciela Sanchez, people in the community that know how important it is that we help people vote. Right? So, and doing a simple thing like doing this, moving this from May to November helps do that. Let me give you one example, okay? So Houston, we are very similar to Houston in terms of our demographics, in terms of our income levels, in terms of our education levels. And when you look at turnout in state and federal elections, our turnout is roughly the same, right? When you look at municipal races though, their turnout is double. Their turnout is double.
Really?
And the only difference is they have their municipal elections in November and we have ours in May.
And they've had it like that for a
long time. They've had it like, exactly right. They've had it like that for decades. This is, to your point, this is also an instance of, I don't want us to get left behind. If we don't move this, we would be the only big city in Texas that doesn't have their municipal election in November because everybody sees the benefits. Houston, November. Austin, November. Dallas, November. Right? So I think this makes a lot of sense for the community and it also saves us some sense, right?
You held a meeting over the weekend just to give people more information about it. What came out of that? Did people understand, why you were making this move and how soon could this vote come? Yeah,
I think people did understand it. In particular, again, when I make that example about Houston, so we are doing a B session on it this Wednesday. So we'll have, we'll hear from various speakers on this issue and kind of what it would mean in the community. But I think the people that are tracking this issue and the importance of it, they get that it makes sense. And I'm very thankful that there's lots of support from former mayors. Henry Cisneros supports this. Phil Hardberger supports this. Julian Castro supports this. Ron Nirenberg supports this.
What about the current council and election administrator? Are they behind it?
Well, the election administrator is, they're not a policy person, right?
Yes,
so they're
but she has an opinion maybe on turnout, right? She always gives us those numbers and she looks at those numbers.
So turnout is not an opinion. Turnout is the data, right?
But she sees like how those dates range, right?
Well, so we have a very clear data from actual academics, right? That would show us what this means from, absolutely. There's a paper, happy to share it, and this has been shared with the entire council, and they work on this day in and day out that look at turnout across the country. So not only is San Antonio's municipal election turnout of the top 50 cities, we're in the bottom 5. We're in the bottom 5. Okay, so we need to do everything possible to help ourselves and help ensure that we hear from more neighbors. So the elections administrator, she may have a personal opinion about it, but again, she is a kind of a staff person and not a policy person. The city council, we continue to have discussions, as they also engage with their constituents to understand what this means. This is one of those kind of like wonky things though, right? This isn't one of those things that people kind of think about, but I think this is for those of us that understand what this would mean, the consequences of it, all those former mayors that I just described, all those city leaders and civic leaders and voting rights groups that have weighed in, they understand the significance of this for the 7th largest city in the country.
Yeah. Really quick, tell us about your trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
You did that recently, just got back. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I was very, I was very thankful. The San Antonio Hispanic Chamber organized that. And, San Antonio, not just Texas, but San Antonio uniquely has a special relationship with Mexico. Francisco Madero, when he, frankly, was exiled and developing the Plan San Luis Potosi, which is essentially the revolutionary plan, right? He drafted that here in San Antonio. Right, so for him to for that to be such a kind of a cultural initial type, historical, but of course the economic pieces. So it was very, for me, meaningful that my first international trip was to Mexico. As you can imagine, two things really came to the top in the conversations. USMCA, right? There's going to be a review of that deal next year. And so that is so critical to our economy, as well as, frankly, the undocumented folks, the migrants that are in our community. So making sure that we're working on those two things together, I think, is really more important moving forward. But great
Wonderful.
trip.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time
Thank
today,
you.
Mayor. We appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.